All right, my name is Jonathan Hayes. Welcome to the Haystack. Today I wanted to go over the Congressional Oversight of the UAPs, or formerly known as UFOs. So this is the Oversight Committee done by Congress, needs congressional oversight, and basically they're wanting to allow whistleblowers who have witnessed UAPs, UFOs, UAPs to be able to come forward and be able to unify their reporting method of seeing these things. They want to be able to bring it forward without defamation, without risk to their career, without even risk to their life in some cases. And it's because the security sector has kept things overly protected. According to their view, these people coming forward. One name you might be familiar with is Luis Elizondo. For him, he's studied in microbiology and virology, and then he worked in counterintelligence, terror, and was in charge of OSIF, and then that turned into ATIP. He's done a lot of stuff. He's been trying to blow the whistle on this for a very long time. However, because of the security clearances, you're kind of stuck with what you can and can't say. But he believes that much of this should be opened up to the public, and at least get these separate government organizations to be able to report to a centralized, accessible point with congressional oversight. Because right now, in their view, it's the executive branch has been conducting these studies and UAPs. So this is unidentified aerial phenomenon, but this also applies to things coming out of the water. So let me just get down to my notes and I'll go through all my bullet points. UAPs is, we do have UAPs in government possession. So this is a Q&A session where they went through a panel of people, and you had people on this committee, Congress members on this committee, who go through and have these questions. And it's both Republican and Democrat. It's bipartisan. It's very unified. And they've done this before. I covered it before, but not very well. Hopefully I do a better job this time. But ultimately the goal is to get this going, because in Luis Elizondo's, in his site, he sounded to say, he said we're in like a 10 to 15 year long secret arms race, because there are UAPs that are from non-governmental entities. They've recovered biologics, which means beings, bodies. They said bodies from these things. They're not allowed to mention significant detail there. But he even said like a lot of these were recovered decades ago, like before he was even born. But the thing is that these UAPs are showing a pattern of being viewed more and more and more. We're not sure if that's kind of like a viewer bias or observation bias, because in these security areas with where they have nukes and secret personnel and things going on, if they just have better quality observation there, and that's why they're reporting more and getting more there, or if it's that's where it's being targeted. And they said they don't know what country of origin, they don't know if it comes from a country, they don't know if it comes from a human. Gosh, I'll just read my notes. UAP not from US or any other government. UAP not alone in the cosmos. That was a quote said by Luis Elizondo, is to prove that we're not alone in the cosmos. However, there's a culture of security and secrecy that gatekeeps far more extensively than they should. The executive branch has been conducting UAP work without congressional oversight. Unsure if UAP is a natural phenomenon or something of a higher design. So this is, they're wondering, is it multidimensional? Is it? Someone asked, does religion play in here? Is there a good and a bad version of these UAPs? And the answer there was no. We just looked at the nuts and bolts, can't determine anything. We know it's able to do things to us, but it hasn't done anything to us. Although they have had collisions with UAPs, it has caused harm to people. These sightings also include a significant increase of anxiety and other symptoms. There's descriptions of various types, including orbs, 20-foot long crafts of like drones. We had tons of drones, a fleet of drones fly over Langley, and our own government said, I think they believe that this came from a nation, but they were unable to detect it as early as they would like. And so there's a lot of curiosity there. One point that was made is that one of the people being interviewed was, he wants to find different ways to analyze and observe these for the pure scientific purpose of breaking through the study of anomalies. Said that every scientific breakthrough is a study of anomalies. That's what Albert Einstein did, and that's what we should do, is study anomalies, and then we can better characterize what we're going to try and use to detect these things in the cosmos. He said if you're using a helicopter camera and you're picking some stuff up, and you're trying to study black holes with a helicopter camera, it's not going to work. So we need to study these anomalies, get access to the tangible UAP recovery items so that they can be engineered so we can detect them more easily. And that's the thing, is they said, yes, we do have recovered UAP things. There's some private organizations that have access to these or have them in their possession that the government was unable to obtain. And so that's something that needs to be accessed for study. And so we don't know if UAPs are coming from a private industry too. And we don't know what country it may be coming out of. Orbs coming out of the Gulf of Kuwait, or not the Gulf, off the coast of Kuwait. Orbs emerging, orange orb emerging out of the waters and then merging in with other orbs. It definitely caused a frenzy. I went on Google Earth and looked at Kuwait, and there's a lot of weird stuff in their ocean out there. A lot of ships seem to either be sunken or they layered ocean on top of a bunch of ships, because they have a lot of crap under there. So that's worth looking at if you want to. They want to better understand meteorite activity and anomalous weather. They want to gain the trust of the public. They think that a lot of this stuff doesn't need to be classified, that it should be opened up to the public, and that private pilots and regular people need a way of reporting these things. Because NASA has a way of reporting these things, and it looks like the government organization Arrow is basically the one who's being gatekeeper on all of this information for the United States. They said that other countries do have access or do have recovered materials themselves and are reverse engineering. We currently have been reverse engineering these things. We want scientific breakthroughs, civilian pilots to be able to do that, report help us detect anomalous weather. Want to find out if this is transdimensional, if it's a spiritual thing being manifested, if this is something that's ancient, if it's a natural component, part of Earth that's always been here, but we're just now better detecting it. However, they also said the UAPs have a pattern of being viewed near sensitive sites and are they're not trying to hide themselves. They've even broken up formations of aircraft in flight, and this thing just goes right between them and making them spread out. There's Arrow itself has psychologically attacked the people who have tried to share these things. They've shut it down. They've gaslit people. However, with this new administration, the leadership at Arrow has now been changed, and it sounds like they are willing to cooperate with these proceedings. They've had things detected underwater that have moved like these anomalous beings, that have moved like a ballistic missile towards a ballistic submarine, moved very quickly, then slowed down, changed direction, and then pew. One part of asking if it was transdimensional is because these things are moving in such a way that any known material that we know of, that we can construct ourselves, would break apart given the G-force and everything that it's under. But they say that they believe that it is under intelligent control because it anticipates movement. And so there's also the curiosity if the anomalies themselves is just a higher biological form of being. And I know I've said that a lot. They said it a lot. Do we have sensor bias? We do have leased out facilities at military bases, which private industries are using. Oh man, I can't read some of my handwriting on the name of this aerospace company. But Lockheed Martin, the CIA, these guys have all worked together to try and apprehend some of these materials, which they don't have, and were unsuccessful. Hopefully that may change soon. One of the goals is also to fully fund the Artemis program. Artemis program is the modern Apollo program. Apollo program, which took us to the moon. I actually got to work a little bit on this program at Northrop Grumman. I worked in their aerospace department with propulsion. I worked in a bunch of different areas, and it was a couple different things. The main one was the booster rockets. I actually got to refurbish some of those booster rockets. They're ginormous. Been in these ginormous, huge pits that go so deep underground, and then going down there, it was cool. It was like going into the Death Star. And some of these buildings you get lost in. It's amazing. Very fun. Very hard work, very detailed work, very clean work, but just, it was crazy. That was fun. First-hand visuals. Oh yeah, this one was, do we have an idea of if it's good or bad, evil or not? Do religious people have a different reaction? Does it react differently to people who are religious? There was no definitive answer there. But basically, we don't want a technological surprise from an enemy. And we know that these entities, or whatever it is far more advanced and has very easy access to anything it wants with us and other governments, yet it has not taken the liberty to do us harm. In fact, it's given us liberty to do a lot of things without stopping us. Can they see the... Oh yeah, the goal is to get congressional oversight on this so we can get the physical evidence. So instead of being told in a skiff or a private room, a private session, they can actually come in and see literally what it is. Even though they can't release it to the public, hopefully they'd like to get some of this physical material of the UAP and the biologics so that this Congress committee can be able to view it literally, because that's what's missing. That's what we would like to do. They asked, is the government concealing UAP activity from the public? They said 100%, absolutely yes they are. Now, I know about Project Bluebeam. I'm sure you guys all know about Project Bluebeam, and a lot of people will say that this is all going according to plan. At the same time, what's the harm in having Congress look at this stuff and bring it to the forefront so it's more accessible for us to view and judge for ourselves? I think that's a good idea. Yeah. And I think that's all I'm going to cover for right now. Mainly, we had one person who's taken a scientific approach that wants to get these things so we could study better. Another person who's concerned about an arms race that's happening secretly already, that's going to take the next 10 to 15 years, that is inevitably happening one way or another. We are already reverse engineering this, and we do want more reporting on this so we can get more knowledge on it. So we want civilians to be able to, and civilian pilots to be able to report in all of this. The idea is basically not that we're going to combat these things at all or whatever it is, but we're going to try and figure out what it is. Is it a natural phenomenon that we just now found out about? Because once we believed that you needed oxygen to have life, and it turns out that that's not exactly accurate. There are organisms that can live without oxygen. Is this just another one of those things? And are we seeing it more because of we're out more, we're at higher altitudes, we're in the oceans more? Is this something that's always been there that we've never seen before? Or is it a supernatural, spiritual type entity that is being detected with our updated stuff? I have no idea, but I don't mind having more information on it. Tell me what you guys think about it in the comments. Did you watch it? I'll put a link to the full thing. It's hours long. I just try to bullet through a bunch of stuff. They repeat themselves quite a bit. I know I did too. But they also have to ask those questions to rule it out, right? And a lot of the stuff can't be answered except for in a private room or a skiff. And so that's where we're at. And the goal is that we get more access to these things to the public and have congressional oversight, and not have the Arrow program or what are the executive branch covering to conceal everything. And it seems like everybody's on board so far. We don't. Arrow typically has been the people pushing people away, considered deep state, and now leadership there's changed. So let's see what changes now. All right. Thank you. Tell me what you think. Like, subscribe, view, all those things. Take care.